Kevin Wan, owner, Sophia's Thai Kitchen.
My name is Kevin Wan, and I own Sophia's Thai Kitchen in Davis since 2001. I graduated UC Davis in 2000, and I shortly opened up the bar about 7 months later.
What was your pathway to becoming a business owner?
My path to business ownership uh, was accidental. I think in terms of when you're that young, you don't really know what your next step is, especially once you graduate. I had planned on going into publishing initially, but a lot of my friends at UC Davis were taking fifth years or taking a gap year between after graduation or and pursuing a career. And it just so happened I was bartending and managing a restaurant at the time. It was called Fusio, which was in the Davis Commons area, where Makuni is now. And the space opened up where the bar is currently at Sophia's Thai Kitchen, and I happened to know Sophia and her business partner at the time, and they were wanting to expand the restaurant. The restaurant was initially just the restaurant in the courtyard, but they didn't have any experience, opening up a bar or expanding, and I offered my assistance. And then our conversations kind of grew to, hey, do you want to just partner up with us and do this thing together? And since I had all these friends that were willing to work there, it was actually an opportunity to just kind of have my own little startup at, 22 years old at the time. So I thought, salaried job working the corporate ladder was always going to be there, waiting for me. This was an opportunity to kind of build something with my friends. And so that's kind of what happened. And then, these things kind of grow into it ended up being a much bigger thing and a much more successful thing than I anticipated. And then eventually we bought Sophia out. She moved to Chico, and we've, been in business, and it's almost 20 years now. So.
Was taking over and restructuring the business a difficult decision to make?
I guess I don't think there was much of a thought process. I had partnered with Sophia and my current business partner, Gordon, when I first came on. So it was kind of part of the agreement of me coming on to build the bar was an equity stake in the business. And so I came on as a partner. And then my partnership, when Sophia got remarried, and she wanted to pursue her own interests outside of Davis, and she wanted to move, and so that was the opportunity to restructure the business. And so when we bought her out, that was when we restructured the business to be a 50-50 partnership.
What skills serve you well in your business?
I think in hospitality, you really have to make people feel, welcome and welcomed into place. And I feel like I've always been really good at like being a host and being organizing a party or being the point person in terms of throwing a gathering or whatever. So, having a restaurant is like throwing a party every night or throwing some sort of a dinner party every night. And there's a lot of moving parts. And so I think my particular expertise is, being able to juggle, manage those moving parts so that nobody notices that they're all working together cohesively, but nobody notices that, it's a machine, and still being able to play host to visitors. So I think that's kind of where my expertise has always come in. I don't really get stressed much, so restaurants can be a pretty chaotic environment, and I'm able to stay pretty even keeled, even in the midst of chaos. I'm not really, I'm pretty good. I'm okay with a spreadsheet. I'm okay doing book work and all that stuff. That's the other part of the restaurant business. But the part that I'm good at and the part that I enjoy most is actually um, being the being on the floor and interacting with the customers and uh, managing the staff's needs and putting out fires. I'm a pretty good troubleshooter as well. Uh, any number of things go wrong on a particular night, and they usually happen in threes. And so I'm good at triaging, and I'm good at like uh, coming up with a quick problem, solution to any problem that might arise.
In retrospect, is there anything you do differently in your business career?
I would say that if I would do something different, I would have stayed a little bit more aggressive in the middle part of our development. Um, I feel like I don't think there was any missed opportunities, but I feel like there were a lot of ideas that I saw or trends that I saw coming that I didn't really adopt until the trends were already here, and I felt like we could have been at the forefront of that. I saw the craft beer thing coming a couple years before it really started booming, the craft cocktail thing as well. But at the time, we were really doing really good business as a college bar, like a volume college bar, and so you kind of have to weigh changing, changing your model. If it the business, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. But at the same time, you also have to keep innovating. And as you mature in the business, you get a little bit more conservative as to the chances that you take. And I would feel like you know stick. It's always good to keep that competitive edge. Always try to innovate. Try to stay ahead of the curve. Because then you'll always be known as the place that's always doing something that's first.
What would you tell people considering a career in business?
Well, I would say if anything, if you're going to go into business for yourself or build something, do it with someone. Have a partner. Don't do it on your own. It's first of all, building a business is hard work. It's long hours and it can be lonely. So having someone or multiple people to do it with makes it more fun. You get to share in the successes and you get to spread the risk also as well. So there's dual benefit, but it's also just more fun to have someone grow with you. And if the person doesn't necessarily have to be your best friend, but they definitely have to be someone that complements you. You need to know what you're good at and what your strengths are and what you enjoy. But there's many aspects to a business, and those aspects don't always fit. Like I just said, I don't really love sitting in the office doing payroll, doing receivables, things like that. But my business partner, he loves that stuff. He loves balancing the checkbook and doing the P&L and stuff. So, in that aspect, I can do operations, and he can be in the back end and do finances. And he also doesn't particularly like being on the floor and managing employees. And I love doing that. I love interacting with the staff. So, in that sense, we've been able to have a very successful relationship over 20 years. And we're good partners and good friends, but we're not like the best friends. We don't hang out outside of work or anything like that. So I would say, if anything, yes, find someone that you like working with, that you feel like you can grow with, and build something together. Because doing it on your own, it sounds like, oh, you can do it your way and you won't have anyone to answer to. But at the same time, you can get very narrow. You can have a very narrow view of what direction of the company. And it's always nice to have different people to bounce different ideas off of. And just also, like I said, sharing the successes. Sharing the successes is much more fun when there's other people to celebrate with.
Kevin Wan, owner, Sophia's Thai Kitchen.